Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary Boss. I'm Ross, your guide to all things travel. Today, we're going to dive into travel portals and the importance of them, as well as just the ways to find, different cheaper hotels, hostels, flights, and just leveraging those portals and different tools to make sure you can maximize your travel budget, whether that's for yourself if you're getting started out early in your 20s, whether you're older wanting to travel, whether you're traveling with a family. Want to make sure everyone's available, of what resources are available to them today. And just a little background, I got started when I took my first international trip over to Barcelona and Rome for a day, leveraged Expedia. And the reason I leveraged Expedia was because I was able to combine our flights as well as our hotels together and get a pretty good deal to travel over for just, I think it was like right under $1,500 for the flights, as well as the nights, the flights of the nights over to Barcelona. And then we took a quick flight over to Rome and just did a full day there. So I think they're great when you're getting started out. If you're trying to combine those, if you want to do, you know, a little bit less work too, they give you the tools to not have to do a lot of the research on your own, right? Booking a flight through a hotel, or not through a hotel, booking a flight through an airline and then booking your own hotel through a portal. I think that's the nice thing about some of the travel portals, as well as you can start to, I know on some of the other episodes I started to walk you through the importance of rewards, but being able to combine those airlines miles, as well as hotels, but then from here being able to double down on maybe Expedia points within the portal. So going to walk you through some of those. So the ones we're going to talk through today are Expedia, Priceline, booking.com, hotels.com, Hostelworld, Kayak, Scott's Cheap Flights, which is now going, as well as Skip Lagged. All these I've used, not to, I wouldn't say I've used every single one of them a lot, but I would say I've used them a good amount, and over the years have used a few more than others, but have experience using them and think they're valuable for each different traveler. So want to walk you through some of those. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so you can get a quick walkthrough and see these. And what's nice is, and sharing my screen. Yeah, and so, when we think about Expedia, right? And a lot of these are going to be a similar interface, but the reason I like Expedia, like I mentioned, it's a one-stop shop for flights, hotels, car rentals, and vacation packages when you're looking to bundle those things for a discount. Also, like I mentioned, you can earn rewards on bookings, which is nice for discounted future travel. So if you want to start to point stack, if you have a specific credit card that you like to use that gets you more points towards travel, I like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Preferred, Venture X, using that, and then being within the portal that you can see, right? And since I've booked some through Expedia, I have $15 that I can use towards those rewards. And even if it's you're not booking your hotel or your flights or you know, your bundled packages in here, even if you're booking things to do, those are still going to get you points. And Expedia sometimes will have good tours and good things to do through that. Also, cruises. I know a lot of people will book cruises through here. I'm not a big cruise guy, but I know a lot of people have done those. And just going into here, right? You can get the app. The app's pretty intuitive. You can go in, and I'm already signed up, but if you wanted to, again, it's as simple as going in and signing up. And then from there, you start to earn rewards. But yeah, you can go into stays If you say, hey, I want to add in a flight and I want to add in a car, you're leaving from where, right? So I think that's important if you're doing flights. It's going to be similar, add a place to stay, go in here, it'll search for you. Cars, if you just want to get a rental, packages. I think this is so. I had a recent podcast episode with Chris Saw, and he walks through how he planned his honeymoon in Thailand for a month. They didn't use Expedia for that, but he travels with his kids and they go to the Caribbean a good amount. So go back and listen to that episode. He provides some tips and tricks and just valuable traveling with kids information, but also why he likes booking through these type of portals, Expedia, Priceline, for those uh, all inclusive trips. Also, Expedia has a price match guarantee. So they have a price match guarantee on all flights, hotels, which can provide some peace of mind. So when you are looking at comparing different price options, this is a good option. I would say a downside, when you are booking through this portal, and this comes from doing it, from talking to different travel agents, is, and this is going to be across the board, right? Customer support. If something does go wrong with flights or hotels, getting help can sometimes be difficult and time consuming. And then cancellation policies, make sure you always read into those because they can be strict and will depend more on the airline, hotel, and making it crucial to read the fine print. So something to look into. Next, we'll go into Priceline. Pretty similar, right? It's, you have all the bundle and save, they have experiences. There's different coupons. So I think this is really the nice thing is you can come in here and you can bundle and save. You can find the different pricing and compare those across the board. And again, you can sign in, you can join the VIP list, so you can start to earn those rewards. I mean, if there's one or the other that you really like and you want to use, my suggestion is get familiar with one and start to use it. And then if you want to start to really compare, get points, all that, you can. But just getting started signing up is going to be key. So a couple things to call it for Priceline. It's famous for express deals where you can book hotels at deeply discounted rates. You won't know the exact hotel until after you book. So some people who might be wanting to just save money and go somewhere, that might be a great option. But if you're like, hey, I want to stay at this hotel at this time in this location, probably not best for you, but something to think about. Name your own price. It's not as popular now, but it was revolutionary in allowing customers to bid on flights and hotels, which would potentially save them a lot of money. So when you are comparing those, I think that was good. But as more players come into the market, I think that's good. And then there's bundled deals, right? If you go over to bundle and save, that's going to give you a great way to save money on a full vacation packages. So again, like I mentioned, those express deals. If you don't want to, kind of be getting a mystery box, if you're familiar with 500, the game back in the day, probably not the best for you. And then also the limited flexibility. So with those deals, sometimes cancellations, being able to change those are going to be tricky, and sometimes they might be non-refundable. Booking.com we'll dive into next. So this gives you a bunch of different accommodations from hotels to vacation rentals, hostels. It makes it versatile for all different booking types. So it doesn't charge for booking fees, which is a nice perk. And there's also flexible cancellations, which offer free cancellation policies, which also give you flexibility if your plans change. So coming into here, you also can list your properties. So, when we're, if you have any sort of Airbnbs, it's a great way to list your property from a marketing standpoint. And sometimes just booking air, you can find actually a hack if you're traveling internationally is if you go into Airbnb, and I'll do this real quick. I don't have an example up in front of me, but I can talk you through it. So if you go into Airbnb or you go into VRBO and you're looking for somewhere, let's just say in Europe, what you can do is you actually can get a picture of that image and the title of that location, type it into the bar and put in booking.com. And sometimes, since most rental hosts are they're pretty much marketing across different platforms. What they'll do is they will put that on booking.com. So then you can go in and search that. You can find sometimes a significantly, ooh, I'll give you an example because we did this. Uh, Ethereum. And this is where we're staying. Three caves. So this is across a ton of different places. But if you look, here's the Ethereum luxury cave villa. Let's just say, so it's okay. Let's see how much it is. So you're looking at 189. If you go back to, and if this isn't a good example, then, but it usually does work. So let's just say you do September 25th through September 27th. Let's just see how much it is. 842. So you can see that it is cheaper when you go on that. So that's just a hack. That's something I like to do if I'm looking overseas on booking.com is comparing and contrasting Airbnb and doing that. And you can save some money there. I mean, and also you can stay in Airbnbs, which is great. That I mean, I personally that's what I like because I feel like you get a more unique experience, which that's a nice perk. And yeah, and then you can go back and forth with the host and get more of that local experience. And they also have right things like flights. They've started to do flights and hotels, car rental cruises. You can book taxis through there, different attractions. So really like booking.com. There aren't booking fees, but there are service fees. So sometimes they may add service fees similar to Airbnb. So just something to look out for. They aren't outlined until checkout. And then, customer service sometimes, right? Like large portals, resolving issues can sometimes be challenging just due to the amount of volume of bookings they handle. So, booking.com, we use it a lot. It's similar to that. And you can even see, we have a standard transfer coming up and you can search through that. And if you're familiar with Airbnb, I like it a lot. Next, we'll go into Hostelworld. I think when people first think of hostels, they think of one, the movie Hostel, if they've never stayed, and they also just think of like, ooh, I don't want to stay there. That's, I'm not trying to stay in a room of 30 people. From staying in hostels from the time I studied abroad in 2013, and then when we started traveling to Europe, 2017 and 2018, when we had a group of six of us guys and we had to be within a budget because we were traveling with a couple people who were on teacher salaries as well as we were earlier in our careers. Hostels were a great solution for that. This is similar, as you have, where do you go, right? You have your check-in, your check-out, you can create a profile. You also have a hostile chat, so you can start to connect. And I think this is very important for people who are traveling solo. And there's a solo episode, there's two solo episodes. If you want to listen to, go back to 3 weeks traveling as a solo female and safety tips and tricks. That's episode 9, if I'm not mistaken. But if you go back through and search, you'll see that. And then another episode around solo mail travel with Joe Salma. He walks through some of his trips to places like Mexico City, Bali, Guatemala, and those are going to be. And he gives a lot of background on why he likes hostels, right? What kind of gets rid of what most people think about hostels. But looking at this, you can start to travel, you can start to chat with people within the hostel who are staying right 14 days before. So if you're traveling solo and you're like, hey, I want to meet people when I'm there, I want to see people's profiles also before I get there. So I know they're not creepy or not sketchy, right? I can kind of look at their Instagram or Facebook to make sure they're normal. So I think that's a tip and hack for solo travelers. And then also meetups. A lot of the times the hostels will throw different parties. Well, I mean, they live and they do this every day. So they'll be able to connect you with other people. They'll be able to do, say, a free walking tour. If they're going out to an event, they can kind of really help you map out your itinerary if you want to plan it, if you want to, leave some room open. I think that's big. But yeah, I mean, it really shows, hey, here's who's going, this is what we're doing. Here's, the city chat, here's direct messages. You can start to do that. Exactly. So you can go from solo to social and you can start to do group tours. So I think Hostelworld is great for those one who just want to get started out with traveling and staying in hostels. I think that's going to be important, but also if you are traveling solo and you're like, hey, I want to start to meet other people and start to do stuff, I think that's going to be important. So Hostel World is a great budget friendly option. And to take away kind of the misconception of hostels, you can also get your own private room. Like you're going to pay a little bit more, but you can get your own room where you have, your own bed, your own bathroom. It's going to be a little bit more if you want to stay with four people. When we traveled with six guys, we would stay in six-person hostels. When we went to study abroad, we stayed in a six-person hostel. You get one bathroom, but there's also community bathrooms, and it's they're good. So I like it. There aren't any loyalty programs or levels of service. Um, but also just look when you go into Hostel World, you also can see that there's different rankings similar to booking.com. So that's nice. Hotels.com is going to be pretty similar. That's going to be part of the Expedia network. So you actually can leverage your Expedia points within hotels.com. And you can then, go in and search. Okay, it's similar to this is going to be more focused on obviously hotels and accommodations, but you can then, if you're trying to travel with a pet, if you want something that has a spa, if you want something that has these specific amenities or this is where you want to stay, this is the nice thing. It's going to be more geared towards hotels, but they also have different cars, deals, vacation rentals. So they're part of that Expedia network that's gonna help. And then you have those one key rewards. So something to look into and call out. And again, it has that similar interface. So hotels is another thing, hotels.com. Kayak flights is another one. This is just to search what you want, also get different updates. So if you want that, kayak's another one. You can sign in, you can get different, you know, updates to your email. You can by receiving the newsletter. You can also just kind of look to price alerts, flight tracker, wish list, all that. So if you're looking for budget travel and budget flights, kayak's great. Scott's cheap flights. This is what I used when I started flying. So going in, you can sign up, you can get a trial, you can get, a ton of emails to your inbox if you're just getting started out. And, this is where you really can get free flight alerts that are going to save you money. Sometimes they're not going to be the, hey, I want to fly direct from Charlotte to Rome and I have this many days. Like you're going to get layovers, but you're going to save money. So I think like, $285 to go from New York City to Berlin, $100 from Boston to Iceland, New York to Boston, less than $300, right? Like these are good deals. And I think those, they aren't blowing smoke. I've seen those deals before. But for me now, I mean, I think just, logistics and ease of traveling and less layovers is my style of travel. But being able to, save those if you're getting started and getting those to your news or getting that newsletter to your inbox is going to be important. And then last, skip lagged. So skip lagged is something that if you're trying to find cheap flights, this is really good. So the what skip lagged is let's say you're flying from Dulles down to Florida and there's a layover in Charlotte and you want to actually go to Charlotte, but you can pay less for the ticket. What you would do is you would find that flight on skip lagged, you would book it, you would fly into Charlotte and you would get off at that layover and you would stay in Charlotte. The thing with skip lagged is you can't check bags, because if you check bags, your bag's going to end up in Florida. You're going to end up in Charlotte. So if it's something where you want a cheap flight, you're only having a carry on. You want to be able to have that bag with you and save a lot of money. Just going there, skip lagged is going to be for you. And it has, cheap as regular flights. They've started to implement hotels, and then travel deals. You can go down here, and this is where you can find that. So my suggestion is download the skip lagged app. And play with it, and you'll start to learn a little bit more about how to use it. And, I've used it a few times, and it was definitely good when getting started out traveling and leveraging budget travel. So hopefully all these tools have helped, and just combining those and bundling, all of those flights, hotels, rental cars, experiences. You can start to build out points with, Expedia, with booking.com, with Priceline. And then from there, you can double dip and get points through, booking on your credit card that has the most travel rewards. A couple things to call out for travel portals are going to be, some of those customer support. They aren't going to be as good as, maybe you're going through another portal, like Airbnb, or you're booking straight through a hotel website. So something to think about. There's limited flexibility. So sometimes you're going to have to book maybe on days and dates that you don't like, but also you might have to have a layover or two to save that money. So you have to, compare, is this worth my time to have this layover, or do I want to get from point A to point B? And one thing to think about too is when you do have those longer layovers, if it is, 8 hours, go explore the city. Maybe you do an extra day somewhere and have like a 24-hour layover so you can see a city. That's something we've done in the past, and I'd suggest it. But thinking about those things, as well as hidden fees before you book, make sure you look at those. But those different travel portals, they're useful tools for planning and booking trips. They offer convenience, potential savings, being able to bundle those, and just a lot of wide range of options. So my suggestion would be find which one suits you best, what fits your travel needs best, what fits your budget, as well as, what are you most familiar with, and what travel are you trying to do. But appreciate everyone tuning in. If you like this episode, give it a follow. Make sure you give us comments, ratings, reviews. That way we can learn more, provide more information that you find valuable, and share it with a friend who you might think is valuable, so we can help grow the show and continue to reach more people, to help people more start traveling. We'll tune in next week.